All right, Chelsie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Halifax Network. We're just going to jump right into it. So for people that don't know, we have Chelsie Greening here today. She is a virtual stager with Inner Balance Staging. So we want to kind of just get the folks to kind of know a little bit about you, kind of a bit about your background. You know, I know you're originally from Nova Scotia, but you've been in Ontario for some time. You've had a couple kids through the pandemic. You started a business. I kind of want to hear a little bit about how that come to fruition.
Yeah, it's been busy. It's been very busy.
Absolutely.
So yes, I'm born and raised in Canning. And of course, it's not even a town. It's classified as a village. I think when I left, there was just over 2,000 people from where I'm from. So very, very tiny. And then I graduated university and then decided that I needed a change. So I moved to Kingston, Ontario. And then that's actually, it's kind of confusing, but I met my husband here. He was in the military. I already had plans of moving to Kingston, Ontario before I even knew what his plan was, before I even met him. And then I met him here in the Valley, and he told me he was being posted to Kingston, Ontario after I told him I was moving there. So everything just kind of worked out. I like to say that the universe just had it all planned for me.
Right. What was the pull before you met your...
I just needed a change. Just growing up in such a small community, everybody knows everybody and all that jazz. And I was like, okay, let's try something different. So I wanted to move somewhere where nobody knew me, and we were just going to go from there.
Right.
No job lined up, nothing like that. Why not? So...
And this was like when, how many years ago?
Like 7.5 years ago.
So you've been away for a little while.
Yeah, I was living in Ontario for 7 years.
Nice. And what was the pull to Kingston? You just kind of spun the...
It was the only place in Ontario that I knew that I had some family. My aunt, she was living there because of my uncle. He's in the military.
Gotcha.
He's a master warrant officer there. So, yeah. So I knew them. So I was like, all right, let's give her a go. Let's just move. And then, of course, I met my husband here. And then when we moved there, I ended up living with family for a month or two. And then we ended up moving in with each other like right away.
Didn't waste any time.
Yeah, it clearly worked out because, 4 years of marriage and 2 kids later. So it's working out. So that's fine.
Yeah. And you guys actually had both through the whole...
Yes, like crazy people.
Through the whole pandemic. How was that experience?
Wild. So... I had my first child in 2019, a few months before the pandemic hit. And then the pandemic hit and everything got a little crazy. And then we decided to have another kid for whatever reason. We thought it was a good idea to have them super close in age. So I ended up having 2 kids in under 2 years and started my business.
Right. So obviously they're still under 2.
Three and 1.
Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of how sooner the other one was.
Yeah, it's very close.
So you guys are busy.
Yes, very busy. It doesn't stop.
Unreal. So what kind of what did you do for work in your past life?
So first I was a bartender, and then that's what I did when I moved up to Kingston. And then when my husband got out of the military and we moved to the GTA, I decided to go to work with all the boys. So that's how I actually ended up getting in this whole field. So my brother-in-law, he runs Lions Valley Carpentry, and he's always worked for TV. So we decided like, hey, let's start our own company. Let's go do what he's doing. So that's what we did. So we started working for HGTV. It was a very cool learning experience, but I was doing what all the guys were doing. I was laying floor, I was painting walls, I was tiling, you name it, I've done it. Which is really, really great experience because I love home reno. So it's really nice to know how to do that stuff by yourself. So we did that. And yeah, I just like fell in love with it. And I was working closely with the designers on the TV shows. And for me, it was not rocket science. I was like, you guys are getting paid how much to do this? Like, this is like second nature to me. Like, I can be doing this. So I knew I wanted to get into design, but I also knew that that was not the clientele I wanted to work for.
Okay.
Or not my bread and butter, to say the least.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to feel fulfilled at the end of the day for some rich person to pay me to go pick out their sofa.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen. So I needed to find a way that I could help people, because that was like my number one thing. I have a degree in sociology. Like, I wanted to always help people. But then, of course, my love for design kind of came into play, and then I was trying to figure out how I could balance both. So what I did was I got certified in staging when I took time off to have my son, and I realized that this is a way that I can still show my creative side, but at the same time I can help people, and I can work with the class of people that I enjoy. Like, I'm from Canning, which is lower middle class, so those are the people I really mesh with. Those are the people I want to work with. Those are the people I want to help. So by staging someone's house and helping them stage their house, they can sell their home for 50 to 100,000 to however much more over asking, and that can be life-changing money for those people. So that's how I got into staging.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I can definitely reverberate with that, in terms of being a realtor, helping people, close one chapter of their life and open a new one, especially if it's netting them out more money.
Yes.
It's very fulfilling to help people through that transition, and, people with services like yourself, aid that as well. So can you tell us a bit about your experience? I know, probably people, heard like HGTV and people that are into real estate and home improvement shows. Can you tell us a bit about that experience? Do you find that was kind of invaluable to like starting your own business?
It was very, very helpful. And like I said, it helped me realize what I want out of life. Because I'm not bashing people with money. Like, we're all humans, we're all equal, but just some of the people that I worked for, they treat you like the help. Sometimes they call you the help. So I like, these people are just like not in tune with reality, and it is what it is. So I just really wanted to work with people that were like middle, lower class, and actually be appreciated for my work.
Right. So instead of almost being like, I kind of make the analogy, in my past life I felt like kind of just a number on a spreadsheet.
Yes, exactly.
And when it come to like, feeling valued or appreciated, it was kind of few and far between. I mean, not to knock all my teammates on my past life, they're all great. But when you kind of remove yourself from, the immediate kind of team, and like upper management starts getting involved, and they're really making emotionless decisions based on performance and bottom lines.
Yeah. And a lot of TV stuff, it's really like on demand. And then sometimes they push up dates, even though it's completely against the contract, and everything is about numbers. And it's just like, I didn't want to work even for like an institution like that. I was like, I want to work for myself, so then I can personally help people. I can like, it's just a different experience when you put your heart into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes from, we both come from small communities, small towns, and I think, that's kind of that small town kind of mentality. Not mentality in the sense that it's bad, but like you kind of want to feel a part of something. And like when you get into a big family, so to speak, you kind of lose that a little bit. Yeah. So like, big corporations versus medium versus small, the culture varies quite a bit. And I speak from experience, having worked with a few different companies through my kind of short time in the workforce.
And the bottom line is really what people care about. It's all about money. And it's just like, I'm not doing this to make money. Like, my husband is the main breadwinner. I'm actually a full-time stay-at-home mom. Like, I do this because I like to do it. I love to help people. Like, that's why I do what I do. Because I know I can make a difference. It's not at all about the money, or I'd be charging a lot more.
Right. Yeah, and it's good to follow kind of the things that, really drives us, and, what we find provides value to our lives.
100%.
So I think it's important, obviously we want to talk about your staging business, but, obviously we've had a huge lens here over Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Yes.
Our population has grown rapidly, way more in the last year. We've had over 20,000 people since July. We cracked over 1 million. We got some pretty aggressive growth plans according to Tourism Nova Scotia in the next few years. So potentially for those that are watching, listening, maybe your friends in Ontario, maybe friends, from other places abroad. How did you find the transition from being in such a large metropolitan area like Toronto, Ontario, to then moving back to rural Nova Scotia, Canning, which we've also already said is quite small? And the reason I ask this is because I'm part of a few groups in Facebook, and, kind of Ontario to Nova Scotia, sometimes you kind of get these like polarizing mixed messages. It's like, oh, like Nova Scotia, Halifax, we love it. We've been here for X amount of time, and it's awesome, and we never ever go back. And then some people are like, man, they don't have anything. There's no services. We can't get this. We can't get that. We can't get our special milk or whatever this is. And it's like,
yeah.
Hey guys, we need to do some research.
This is something very, very tiny, but I've been trying to find this granola that I could only find in Ontario. I can't even think what the name is. Vector protein granola. It's super amazing, like the best granola I've ever had, and I cannot for the life of me find it at any grocery store here. And that was one thing that I was like, what in the world? But you get a little, like, it's give and take. You're going to have to give up some stuff to get some stuff, and it is what it is. And that's anywhere where you live. Like Ontario, there's a lot of bad and there's a lot of good. And it's the same with here. There's a lot of bad, there's a lot of good. The first morning that I woke up in Nova Scotia after I moved down here, the first thing I noticed was that the kids were going crazy because we just flew the night before. It was a lot and I was freaking exhausted. The last thing I wanted to do was make coffee. And I was like, I'm just gonna order some coffee. And then I was like, oh, Malanta, I can't do that. I can't just order coffee to my door. And I know that sounds so like stupid, but that was like the first like, oh yes, I forgot. This is where I'm from. This is what it's like. It was like, I don't know. It was just strange.
So you get coffee to your door?
Yes.
In Toronto?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
You don't even have to leave.
No, you don't. And that was really beneficial when I was home with, like a 2-year-old, barely 2-year-old and a newborn.
Right.
So it was very nice. But the small luxuries you don't get, but you go to the grocery store and you have a full conversation with the checkout clerk. So it's just like, it's a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, just like anywheres.
Absolutely. So would you say overall you've enjoyed the transition back to...
Yes, definitely. Being away though for 7 years, I've only came back here and there like to visit family. So it's definitely different being around family as much as I am, but it's good. And it's really good for my kids, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Like my kids deserve a super involved, hands-on family. Like you can't put a price on that.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have much more support, especially with the kids.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned you had family in Ontario, but
my husband's side of the family, but they all live like an hour away.
Right.
Everyone did. So it's like no one was even close to like help out. So yeah.
Plus you factor in traffic and transit time. I mean, if it's an hour, is it really an hour or is it 2?
Yeah. And God forbid there be an accident on the 401. Like, no.
Yeah. You can't, you can only wish for so much.
Yeah, exactly.
But so switching gears here a little bit, for folks looking to potentially sell their home, I know a lot of people come to me and, they ask me kind of some tips on, if they're, getting ready to sell their home, what should they do? A lot of times I'll, I'm not a stager, so I'll engage somebody with a service like yourself.
Yeah.
For people that are looking to potentially list their home, maybe this spring, the summer, the fall, whatever time of year they think they're going to be needing to make a move, what would you say is like the top 5 things that people should
Well,
do?
number 1, obviously, is declutter. And that actually goes for your closets as well, because people that are going to invest in a property and actually live there, not just like turn it into an Airbnb or anything, if they're actually planning on living there, they're going to want to know what kind of closet space you have. So even your closet needs to be cleared out. I always say like 50% capacity, because it actually makes the closet look bigger than what it actually is. And if you really want to go all out, wooden hangers, not all the mix match.
Wooden hangers
is a big one. It makes your closet look so much nicer. It looks like a closet out of a freaking magazine.
Like in terms of it just looks more premium in there.
Yes, 100%. Okay. And all the small things really do matter. Like people take into account for that. They're like, same with like your storage area in your basement. If it's, I always say 25% capacity, and everyone looks at me like I'm a crazy person. And I'm like, I know that sounds wild, because that's normally where you store all your things that you're not using in your staging process, but it makes the area look a lot bigger and a lot cleaner. And if potential buyers are coming through your home and looking, they want to make sure that you took care of the place and you really cared about the property. They don't want to see a huge dump in your basement and then they're going to be like, this looks like it was all thrown down here just because they were selling.
Right.
They don't look like they really take care of the property a whole lot.
And would you say also, like, say if I know if I was coming to look at a property and, like you say, they didn't declutter their storage spaces to like 25% or their closets, oftentimes I would find myself thinking it's like, and I'm thinking through the lens of like my buyers.
Yeah.
It's like, man, if they don't have room for their stuff in here,
Exactly.
are we going to have room?
Exactly.
So that's like what people got to understand. And I think that's where they don't put enough value on some of these things. And a lot of times it's like, hey, Chris, we want to list our house. Can we do it yesterday?
Oh my goodness. I hate those calls.
Right?
I hate those calls.
It's never a great start. And I mean, obviously the answer is like, sure, yeah. Be right over. But I think people kind of rush into these things a little too much.
They definitely do. It takes time. And if you want the best bang for your buck, and I don't care what any agent says, but the market is slowing down, especially with interest rates hiking up. It matters that you care about what your house looks like when it goes to market. It matters.
Now more than ever.
Absolutely.
Because you got to set yourself. I mean, we don't have a ton of listings, but to your point, interest rates are putting downward pressure on buyers and obviously the buying power that they have. So, you know what?
And people also want move-in ready. Like people don't realize that, but it's really, really important. If someone comes to view your house and it's listed $20,000 more than the house that they previously looked at, if they go into that other house and they see all the work that has to be done, they're going to go with the house that's only $20,000 more because renovations are normally a lot more than that, especially with material costs going up.
Absolutely. Now, that's exactly what I was going to lead into. People don't really take into account now the massive increases on all
Oh my goodness, yes.
and services, lumber, wait times as well. People don't want to move into a house and have it, half finished or, a room that needs to be re-renovated or, they want to reconstruct this configuration so it meets more their flow and their needs. People don't understand that. To some people, that's most people. It's a massive undertaking. It definitely hinders.
And the big buying pool really is older millennials who have families. Like with small kids, the last thing you want is to have to renovate your new house with kids running around. Are you joking?
Yeah, not to mention, affordability for a lot has become further and further out of reach. So
yes.
As a first-time home buyer, the last thing you want to really have to do, and I'm saying this a bit from a hypocritical standpoint because I bought my house and redid the kitchen ASAP, but also the landscape wasn't what it was today. Like we got somebody in, it got done, and it took some time. We hired family. Don't do that. But we survived, and so people don't understand that. I think that's the major thing. And talking about normalization and the market slowing down a little bit, I like to use the term normalization because I find a lot of sellers still really haven't put a good handle on the pandemic's fucking over.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse my French.
Yeah.
So your 20-30% you want beyond what your house is actually worth.
Yeah, stop
it's
it.
It's not going to happen.
Stop it.
Stop
it.
Like, it's not going to happen. We don't have 1% interest rates. People are being a lot more savvy in the buying process. And sellers, you got to be more savvy. Like, you 100%. Want 0% of your absorbently high price is zero. So you decide. That's kind of what I tell them. Do you want to sell this baby? Let's do it for a reasonable price. Your house is worth double what it was anyway.
Exactly.
So let's kind of, let's
that's the best when the boomers go to sell their homes and they want a ridiculous price that doesn't even make sense. And you're like, you bought this for $86,000. Can you just be grateful and move on?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I have, if I've run into some past folks, they bought their house for, say, $400,000 or $500,000 and they put 200 into it and they think it's worth 1.2.
Oh, I know.
And it's like, well, you bought your house for exponentially less. You only put a couple $100,000 into it and you want double. I mean, it might be close, but like,
let's be realistic.
Let's be realistic. So anyway, sorry, kind of went on a tangent. So, a proper was decluttering. So if we want to reverse back to decluttering is important, what would be kind of the next step? I mean, a lot of people, like I said, they want to kind of rush into it. And I know things are fast and furious, but what are some other improvements where people are trying to really put a proper plan together. They're talking to their realtor, their mortgage person, they're engaging stagers, all the appropriate services involved, like well ahead of time. Like if you have some time, like the time you should be spending to get your home to market to properly maximize the return, like what are some of those?
Another one would be to paint your cabinets depending on what color they are, but for the love of God, get a professional to do it.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, cabinets are so finicky. And if you don't do it right, it looks like garbage and it doesn't last. It chips. It's dreadful. So like, even if you just get a professional to come in and do the face of your cabinets and you guys paint like the insides if you want, or even the gables, like, okay, fine. But please get a professional to do it. Oh my goodness.
Now, are these professionals, are they, and forgive my ignorance, like I've only ever painted like with rollers and brushes. I'm not a spray guy. I know people, they'll spray siding, walls, everything. Like what is the best way to approach?
Spraying is definitely way better for cabinets. But if you are a super good professional, you can actually do it with rollers and with brushes. My husband has done it a few times because obviously he worked for HGTV too. And yeah, he's painted a few cabinets just like by hand like that. And they came out great, but you really need to know the process of sanding it down to a certain percentage. You need to know how to prime it proper, and the drying times. Drying times are very important in between coats because some people get too excited and they start putting on the second coat before the first coat's dry. It's an actual nightmare. So yes,
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, it's a process. But if your cabinets are already a good tone, like a good color, but you just have outdated hardware, obviously you can just update the hardware, and that can go a long way. If you have really cheap laminate flooring, peel and stick all the way. Peel and stick.
Yeah.
People like always talk down on peel and stick, and I'm like, you know what? You have an ugly, shitty floor.
It's not going to look any worse.
It's not going to look any worse. It's going to look better. And if you do it and do it right, it actually looks great. So peel and stick all the way. Save your money and do it that way. If you don't want to spend money on tile or laminate flooring or whatever, peel and stick all the way.
So for people that are like, I'm not putting peel and stick on my fucking floor. Excuse me. Edit that. For the average person, like I know this is vinyl laminate flooring.
Yeah.
The average eye, are they going to walk in and be like, that's peel and stick?
Oh, no, definitely not. No.
Not even close.
And you can also actually grout peel and stick.
Really?
Yeah, you can make it look just like tile. So
out of 10 people, who's noticing it's peel and stick?
Maybe 2.
Really?
And it won't, like I said, it doesn't matter because it's still going to look better than what you had underneath.
Right.
They're going to look at your ugly floor and be like, that's disgusting. Or they're going to look at your new peel and stick floor and be like, oh, that's cheap, but at least it looks good.
Right.
So now we don't have to worry about upkeep, which is another thing. A lot of young families stop with the hardwood floors. It's not worth the money.
Look at mine. Did you see mine upstairs? My dog's destroyed them.
Yeah. Dogs, kids, man, your floor's not going to keep up with time. It really isn't.
8 years, 3 dogs.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. So stop investing your money in hardwood floors because the younger generations, the families coming in, they don't care about hardwood floors anymore. We just want easy convenience, and if something happens to a piece that we can just tear it on up and replace it. So stop investing in hardwood floors, please.
Awesome. What about the rest of the interior? So we're talking like, let's cover up shitty floors, like, beat up hardwood like mine. What else can we add? We did decluttering.
Let me get something straight. Do not cover up your hardwood floors with peel and stick. That is so not what I'm saying. I just want to put that out there. Get them refinished. You don't have to replace them because it does hold value, but get them at least refinished. Sand them down and seal them. That's all you gotta do.
And then you lay it on top? Or
No peel and stick at all.
On hardwood?
Yeah, do not put a cheaper material on a more expensive material.
Right.
Just don't do it.
So remove the hardwood if you're going to do that?
Well, no, I'm saying keep the hardwood. Just refinish it. Sand it down and seal it so it looks new. I'm not saying rip it out because it does hold value, but...
If you're moving. Like for someone like me that's got dogs, we're not probably going anywhere. We're looking to redo the floors.
Then I would lay down what you have down in this room here. Yeah.
Right on. What about the rest of the interiors of the house? We did decluttering, floors,
cabinets.
cabinets.
And then obviously, no brainer, getting rid of all your personal belongings, like all family photos and things like that. I actually had family members move 2 years ago, and their real estate agent told them to keep up the family photos because it made it more personable. And that is the worst advice I could have ever heard. I couldn't believe it came from a professional realtor. I was blown away.
You're fired.
Yeah, basically. Do not do that. Please, 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 please. You want to depersonalize it as much as possible. Your potential buyers that come in, they want to feel like it's their space. They want to envision themselves in the space. They don't want to know how you lived in that space.
Yeah, they don't care at all about your kids.
That is an instant turn off. Yeah, no.
They don't care about you.
Yeah, no.
They just want to know if they can live in your house.
100%.
And seeing pictures of you, it's not helping that.
No,
it's definitely not getting you the most money you can get.
No, 100%. And that's actually brings up another point. Anything to do with pets. I know we all love our furry friends, but they gotta go. They gotta go.
Like during a showing?
Oh, during a showing, plus all remnants of pets, like pet bowls, all that stuff. I know it seems a bit ridiculous, especially for people who have pets and love them, but there is a large population who do not like animals in their house. And then what's going to run through their head is, oh no, what's going to smell? Like, did they pee in the house? Like, did it soak into the floor? Exactly. It's a whole thing. Get a dog sitter, get a pet sitter, just get rid of that stuff. It's got to go.
Absolutely.
It's a touchy subject for a lot of people, but it's my job to let people know that that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I think people kind of misunderstand and they think that this whole process is like rainbows and sunshines and we're all giving them good news and like,
so much
look
work.
at all this money we are making for you. But at this, people don't often realize that unfortunately the worst part or the most important part of our job sometimes is telling you that what you want isn't right or realistic. Some people can take it, a lot of people can't.
Yeah, they get really sensitive.
And my job's to you hired me to do the job. I want to do it to full completion.
100%.
This is how we need to do it.
Yep.
And like, if it's against their opinion, then sometimes that creates friction. And a lot of times people's opinions on what their house is worth is really based on nothing.
100%.
Concrete.
Yeah, it's emotion.
They seen Joe Blow's house go for X amount and it's not even like it's apples and oranges. Or, people think they have all this land that's worth X amount of dollars because there's no land left. And really they just got a pile of dirt and it's overvalued. I mean, it's a shame to have to tell people that. No services.
Yeah,
it's not even marketable for, anybody to really be able to drive up and look at it and walk on the property. And you try and explain to them that, and it's just like in one ear out the other. And it makes it really challenging because you want to do such a good job, but you're kind of, your expertise and your voice is kind of being misheard.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So what about we just recently started. We've never really had too many plants, but what about greenery?
Greenery is huge. People don't realize how important greenery is. When I do my consultations, I recommend greenery in every room, more than often, at least 3 pieces in every room.
3 pieces.
Yes. And people say like, oh my goodness, do I really need that much? And I'm like, it makes all the difference. Even if it's fake, I don't even care if they're fake. They don't even have to be real. It's just there's something that happens to a person when they walk into a room and they see life. Even if it's fake, it doesn't matter. They see life in a room and it just does something to your spirit. And I know it sounds so silly and weird, but it just does. It just brings life into the room, and that is really important.
It warms you up, kind of makes you feel good.
100%.
Like wholesome kind of type feeling.
Yep.
So can you think of anything else in terms of the interior of the home that might provide some additional value, or can we start talking about the outside?
Whatever floats your boat. We can start talking about the outside if you'd like.
Yeah. I think we kind of covered probably
a lot of it.
The outside, the inside. Outside value, where's the best value to spend your money? I'm assuming when we look at staging and bringing your house to market, that's probably the last looked at is the outside.
So a little trick is always have a light on, like a porch light on, so they can see your house number.
Right.
That's a big one, and I put that in
I
every
hate driving and
conversation.
trying to look at numbers. And, like, they're
Yes.
obscure, placed at weird places, or
Yep.
not lit.
And a lot of times people care mostly about location when it comes to finding a house. So before they contact the listing agent, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do a drive-by in the evening after work just to see if they like the neighborhood. Because why would you go see a house that you don't like the neighborhood?
Yeah, it's top suggestion for me. Anytime somebody wants to go see a house in X neighborhood, it's like, hey, have you driven down there yet?
100%.
No? How about you do that?
Yes.
And then you tell me if you want to see the house.
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
it's just, then it doesn't waste anybody's time,
Yes.
you know?
So yes, making sure that your house number is visible is super important. Also just lawn care and your
I'm
driveway.
a huge lawn guy.
Yes.
I can't
It's
stand people like
super
overgrown lawns, crap everywhere.
It literally just goes back to the buyer coming in and seeing that you've actually taken care of the
Pride
property.
of ownership.
Yes, that is so important. And I feel like it's overlooked way too much, especially with some of the listing photos I've seen. I'm like, oh my Lanta. Like they took photos with their iPhone. It looks like crap. And no one did anything to the property. Like they didn't even cut the grass.
I know.
I'm like, what is happening?
I've had my mentor, Don, he'll laugh if he watches this, but I've seen some stories of him on social, not like people talking about him, but he's actually had to, he showed up at a listing, they didn't mow the lawn, and he went and got his mower, threw it in his Jag,
Yeah.
drove over, mowed the lawn. Like he was like, I can't believe you guys left this property that you sold, you made all this money on, and you didn't even mow the lawn for the new buyers. When I was young, I'm a lawn guy now, is kind of like almost forced. Dad'll probably laugh. Or we always mowed the lawn when we were young. We started it, and Dad was he was pretty hard on the lawn work. He'd come out ruler, laser level. So ever since then, it's I cringe when I just see a crappy lawn.
Yeah.
It's just
And repave your driveway. It's all cracked and over 30 years old
Or at
and
least
looking
seal it,
rough.
right?
Yeah, do something. Make it look nice, please.
something to be said for some curb appeal.
Yes.
Is there any additional things that looking from the roadside that people can do?
Believe it or not, you actually have to stage your outside. As silly as that sounds. So if you have a nice little stoop and you have room for even a chair and a little side table, stage it. Make it look like that is where the potential buyer wants to go out and have their morning coffee.
Right.
That is super, super important.
Do your patio on the back too.
100%. Yep, definitely.
Awesome. So anything else in terms of getting your house ready? I think we covered off quite a bit of stuff that people can kind of take in, digest, kind of think about, especially.
I can't give away all
Right,
my
the tricks of the trade, trade secrets. Of course, we got to save some for business. So I guess one thing that I was curious about is what would you say sets you apart from kind of the mainstream stagers into the industry? What kind of services, values can people expect from you when they hire you versus a standard stager?
A big difference that I have found in my last 2 years of running my business is that a lot of stagers, I love them. I have a lot of friends that are stagers in all different provinces, but a lot of issues that I'm finding is that sometimes they walk into a house and they don't take into consideration that this is someone's house. This is their personal style. This is them. Your house is a reflection of you. So sometimes they walk in like they're the designer, they know what they're talking about, and they can easily offend the homeowners. You have to be very careful with the way you deliver news on how to update someone's property, because you have to remember, this is someone's house. This isn't just someone's crash pad and you're here to clean it up. No. This is someone's house. This is their personal style. This is really important that everyone understands that everyone's personal style is special because it's unique. It's you. You go into your grandma's house. I always say this one. You go into your grandma's house and you love it because it's comforting. It's her.
It's cozy.
It's cozy. You love being there. Would you decorate your house like her? Absolutely not.
No.
But you love it because it's her. So be respectful. Act like you're going into your own grandmother's house and you have to give her tips on how to stage her property. You have to care. Moving is so emotional in itself. So to have someone come in and tell you that artwork is outdated, that
Right.
floor's
It's
gross.
cracked.
Like,
This is cracked.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, you have to be
Doesn't set a good tone.
No.
Especially for the realtor to come in and do the work with them after.
Yes. So, I find that definitely sets me apart, is that I actually care a lot about the person selling their home. And I recognize that it is a very emotional process. It's not just a transaction. It goes way beyond that.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's definitely important. I mean, I think both of our roles in terms of getting somebody's property sold, you're very emotionally involved every step of the way. So, you really have to be cognizant and empathetic that these are homes that people are living in. You're not, and we have to be careful with the message that we deliver.
And my process is also a lot different than any other stager in the area. I actually don't physically go in and stage the home, which a lot of people don't know. I get calls all the time, and I have clients that are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to get you to come in and bring all your inventory. I'm like, nope, that's not how I work.
Yeah.
That is not how I work.
Stagers wouldn't bring all their inventory to start with.
Yeah.
But so just for anybody wondering.
But the way that I work is that normally what happens is that the agent contacts me. They tell me that they have a client that they would like to get a consultation for. So what happens is I work 100% remote. I do make some stipulations if it's somebody who lives close to me, because to be honest, I don't charge enough for me to drive an hour each way to go look at every listing. Like, I don't have the time for that. So what happens is the agent goes in, they take 2 to 3 photos of every room, they send that to me, and then I write the consultation. But the difference is that my consultations are anywhere between 10 and 15 pages long.
They're very detailed.
They're very detailed, you would know, yes. So this is just a way for people to save money instead of spending thousands of dollars for me to come in and bring product, bring furniture in. I actually give vision boards and detailed instructions for you to actually stage your own property. And the vision boards are super important, because if I say, like, I want your bookcase to look like this and that and whatever, I go then source those photos that is a good representation of what I need you to do. So then they have a vision of what they need to make their home look like. It's not just blind instructions like do this, do that. So it's very detail oriented, and literally anyone could follow it and anyone can do it. It's not rocket science. Like, you can do it yourself. So this is just another way that I can work with middle and lower class people where they might not have $1,500 to $2,000 to get a stager in. So then that way they just pay me a consultation fee. I write the whole consultation for them, write out a whole game plan, and then they just do what they have time and money to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's really important that we provide people with this kind of direction, especially when people think about staging. It's also associated immediately with way too expensive.
Yes, 100%.
And I think that's where you get some people that'll push back and be like, well, my decorations are fine and my family photos look great, and we're just going to leave it like this, and we don't actually make more money when it's staged. And it's like, cool, all right. But yeah, I mean, that kind of answers my last question, was basically kind of your process from kind of start to finish, say, once I engage you. So yeah, that's awesome. It provides people that are kind of more go-getters. And like you say,
yes.
Some people with all the money, sure, if they want to stage and pay the couple $1,000, all the power to you. But it's important for people to know that they can take advantage of staging services and get more return for their sale of their home with engaging virtual stagers like yourself. Also an awesome thing for you, I'm sure, and that I'll add in, is geographic barriers. There's no, okay, you can't be there on site to explain to them in person, but you still do phone calls.
Oh, yes.
With clients. If they have questions with your reports, they're not out in the dark.
No.
Doing it all by themselves.
No. I always tell all my clients, I'm like, any time, day, it doesn't even matter. Like I said, I have a 1 in 3-year-old. Chances are I might be up at 3 a.m. Who freaking knows? Message me, email me, call me. I don't care. I love doing what I do, and I love helping people. So if you're at home since at 7 o'clock at night and you're trying to choose between 2 different pieces
looking at your report,
like trying to figure out what to buy, FaceTime me. I don't care. I'll help you. Like, I really don't care. I love doing what I do.
Awesome. Well, I think that kind of leaves at a great place for us to wrap this up. I really appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and I hope everybody's kind of learned a couple of things, how to create some more value when they're listening at their home, and also make a plan. Take your time.
Please.
You'll make more money that way.
You'll make a lot more money that way.
It'll be less stressful for you. It'll be less stressful for your stager, your realtor, your inspectors, and all parties involved. So, especially in the state of the market we find ourselves in. I know it's fast and furious, but I think a proper plan, put in process, and engaging the right people to execute is definitely what people need to start looking at. So I know you got a couple of things planned for the rest of the day, so I appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to having you again.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
See ya.